Hello, everybody. I'm Jeremy, owner-operator of Green 13 for 15 years. Third generation auctioneer and dealer of antiques and collectibles for over 30 years. Third generation auctioneer and dealer of antiques and collectibles for over 30 years.
We are Lysandra and Tony from ilovediscounts_com with 20 years of experience across brick and mortar, Amazon, eBay, and whatnot. We have built, broken, and rebuilt resale businesses, so you don't have to.
Hi, I'm Tracy, a CPA with over 30 years of audit and tax experience and have worked with businesses in various industries. I am also a seller on Whatnot, eBay, and Etsy.
Welcome to Reselling Roundtable.
Welcome to the Reselling Roundtable, everybody.
Hello, everyone. Tonight, we're talking about something that isn't 5 years away. It isn't someday. It's already knocking on the door. And for some of us, it's already inside the house. If you've been paying attention, Whatnot recently acquired an AI company called Shaped. At first glance, that sounds like just another tech headline, but I don't think it is. I think it could end up being one of the biggest turning points we've seen since eBay first changed how people bought and sold online. Think about it. Every day, thousands of Whatnot sellers are talking for hours on end. They're holding up items, telling stories, answering questions, describing brands, colors, styles, and conditions. That's an absolute gold mine of information. But right now, most of it disappears the second the live stream ends. What if it didn't? What if AI could actually understand these conversations? What if it knew that when Tony says, here's a signed Weiss Christmas tree brooch with the Aurora Borealis stones, it could instantly recognize every important keyword without us typing a single thing? What if it knew exactly when buyers love Christmas jewelry, vintage brooches, signed costume pieces, and put that show in front of them before they ever even searched? We spent 20 years optimizing listings for search engines. Are we about to start optimizing our voices for AI? Tonight, we're going to dig into what Shaped actually does to the best of our knowledge, why Whatnot bought them to the best of our knowledge, whether static listing sites like eBay should be worried, and where we think live selling is heading over the next few years. Because this conversation isn't really about AI, it's about the future of discovery. It's about how buyers find things they never knew they wanted. And it's about whether or not the next generation of successful resellers won't just be the best pickers, they'll be the best communicators. What do you guys think?
Go past even the SEO of the speech, and why wouldn't they just skip all that and use Google Lens almost? And a lens feature.
What do you mean? Explain that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Your thoughts.
So Tony talked about, here's a signed Weiss brooch with the Aurora Borealis rhinestones. What if you didn't even have to have that? What if it was more of like a Jeremy show where he tries to have as little knowledge as possible, and it literally just picks up the image of the items.
The AI is doing a Google Lens and pushing those keywords out to the buyers.
It's automatically lensing the item being shown and getting the keywords that it needs for the data to push it out to buyers.
I don't doubt that that'll end up happening.
100% it will.
Before I go into my stuff, did anybody do any research on what Whatnot said, the little bit that they said about what they're currently using this purchase for?
Besides to match up the proper buyer to seller, I didn't get much more past that.
The little bit that I did dig for it, initially it looks like they're going to try to match up the way people interact. So, or the way people are interacting in a said show, auction velocity, the speed which the items are introduced, active bidding on, and successfully closing. the interaction density, which they say is the frequency and volume of incoming chat messages, live likes, and viewer traffic, and bidding recency, the temporal closeness of individual bids placed as a countdown timer runs down. So they seem like they're trying to take that information that they've already been trying to do and just shorten it, and leveraging that aspect that they have to bring to the table with the AI. And that other stuff we're talking about seems like that's going to be stuff they're interested in down the road. Because when I was looking at it, they kept talking about this time frame of things that took like a day to match people up to certain of these attributes, and now it's down to milliseconds, and that seems like that's where their heavy focus is, which that's fine and dandy, but I'm really looking forward to some of the other stuff I think we're going to speculate about tonight, which I know is going to, like you're talking about the Google Lens, the actual voice, because again, I was doing a little research, and a lot of these technologies are already available, in other AI products that I don't see how it's not going to end up getting incorporated.
They're already I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
They're already available, and I think that's why they have to be coming down the road, and it only makes sense within whatnot. But I think the problem has been up until this point is the cost of all of that data processing.
Yeah, and that's only going to get cheaper. I mean, like AI, we all know it's pretty much still in its infancy, and it's at its worst. Every day, it's just going to get better. Like today, it's at its worst. Tomorrow, it's going to be better than it was today. And I think Whatnot, we all watched or listened several times, and they talked about how 90+% of their sales come from these non-titled listings, what we call generic listings. They catch on and realize that that's the way things are going to go, and they have to start incorporating these other elements. And that attribute you were talking about, Lysandra, was what I'm really looking forward to, because I don't even think it's going to come down to like the keywords of it. Like I was initially when we were talking last week, I was like, yeah, keyword, people title searching. I don't think it's going to be even a title search environment. It's going to be all about their reaction to a certain person's style of selling visually, vocally, and all that kind of stuff. It's going to be more about voice inflection. What did they call that? I actually looked that up. Sentiment analysis. It's actually there's a system already developed for that, where they can get an idea how the person's selling by their inflection of their voice, the speed of their voice, and stuff like that, and be able to match that up to buyers that tend to enjoy those type of environments more than without, or vice versa. If they like somebody that has a calm, cooling, relaxed environment, and once they start matching that up, it's not even about the product really. Like they're going to be more concerned about matching what they like in the environments that they like.
Here come all the ladies that like deep voices to Jeremy's room. I was reading some stuff, and I don't know if it's specific to Shaped, but I was reading things like some of the data collection that they might be looking at is like, so the first thing, Shape's going to focus on the buyer, right? And the buyer's activity on the app. What shows are they going into? What shows are they staying into? How long does it take them typically to make that first swipe? Do they sit there for 5 seconds, or do they sit there for 20 minutes? And I think right now they do pretty good, almost too good. Like if I want to go check out the card category tonight after this podcast, by tomorrow morning, my little For You page is going to be filled with cards, and I kind of hate that. And I hope that Shaped gives, since it's going to be down to the milliseconds, I hope it gives them a little bit better of a way to push shows to people.
Well, they'll have that attribute be able to capitalize on moment, like desires in the moment. And instead of that sticking on your screen like you're talking about the next day, you will, because if immediately you're going and doing something else, they'll be able to recognize that that's not what you're really looking for, that you were just either in a mood that day, or you were shopping for somebody else, or you were just curious about something that day. So they're not going to keep pushing it. They're going to be able to recognize that you were only interested in that for a couple of seconds. And I think they'll start being able to recognize situations like you were talking about before, Tony. I believe, like being on a raid train. Next thing you know, the next day you're getting,
Yep.
you know, all kinds of stuff shoved in front of you that has nothing to do with any of your interests because you were on a raid train and you were
Exactly.
getting shuffled from one person's style of sale to another. So I think that's really the nitty gritty of what they're going to utilize, what they just purchased for. But the future is what the other stuff that we're talking about. I mean, that's going to be astronomical. It's going to be a colossal shift, dynamic shift in the way we shop.
You've been awful quiet, Tracy.
What are you thinking?
Well, I was actually reading Stay Home to Shop's comments. I thought they were really great. I got a little distracted reading the comments, and then my mind started wandering. I think it's really interesting, this being able to pick up on these counterfeit type products and just some of the stuff that is being put out there right now. So I don't have a lot of thought on it yet. I just read it like 2 seconds ago, so I'm still thinking. But
I'd be leery about real-time assessing of counterfeit products from an AI perspective.
I don't think necessarily counterfeit.
Do we know
like,
that
it was talking more about the barcodes, that it was picking up that it wasn't matching. So that was like, that's easy to pick up on a barcode. I would highly doubt that it's going to be able to take a look at a Louis Vuitton purse and tell if it's counterfeit right away. I mean, there may be some signs of it, but that's still human inspection. That's still not AI. We're not there yet.
And if they did that, it'd be weird. I don't think they would want to incorporate that during live selling because it would make it that would kill somebody's sale. It would have to be something where the person would be checking it before they, if they had an in-app service that you could just check, and the AI was smart enough to be able to spit out the likelihood of it. Yeah, like, hey, don't run this because we find it, suspicious or something along those lines. I could see that being a thing, but doing it while they're live, that feels like a potential train wreck.
Yeah. I think I'm more interested, and we'll get there eventually sometime tonight. We'll talk about it, but where my mind goes is, what do we do as sellers? Like, we could speculate on what's going to happen, but what do we do right now? That's kind of where my mind was leading up to this is, okay, so what are we changing in the way we sell? And it scared me a little bit, Lysandra, when you started explaining the Google Lens concept, because then what does the person now, if I just have to hold something up, then we're back to those silent shows, which that kind of defeats the whole purpose. And I don't know if I want to be here for that.
There's still a whole entertainment factor there, though, right?
Yeah,
not entertainment as far as, dressing up in wigs and stuff, but I mean, look at Jeremy's shows. He barely tells what anything is beyond, here's a necklace and ooh, look, it glows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here's my perspective on it. I don't think it's a thing where it's going to feed the information. I think it's all about matching a buyer to a stream. I think that's their main goal, is to do that. And they're just going to be able to take it to such a high level of personalization. And the only reason they'll be able to do that is because there's so many factors in a live stream selling environment than there is in any static or optics only listing type of environment. So I think to Lysandra's point, like if you hold that up and it recognizes it as, costume jewelry of a certain maker or potentially, then a person that's just showing interest in that, it'll just show your feed or put it pretty high up in the feed. I don't think it's going to be like you hold it up and it gives some title to it. I think it's just going to use it as a discoverability aspect. I also think, because they already have the technology for this, if we're talking about visuals, the day is going to come. It's coming and going to be here really quickly, where even the attributes of how you sell or have your camera, like stationary, and you show single items, it's going to send it to people that are attracted to that stuff. If you're the type of person that's live shopping, it's going to know that you're live shopping to be able to send it your feed or your show to their feed if they enjoy that. And obviously, the more of the elements that you do that they strengthen with them, like again, the cadence or the speed at which you're doing things, tied with the style of selling that you do, that's the next level. That's the stuff that's coming around the corner. That's going to create that colossal cohesiveness between buyers and sellers. And to your question, Tracy, that comes down to the same thing that has always been solid, and that's consistency. Because if they keep matching people to your style of selling and what you're doing, it's going to be great, in my personal opinion, because they probably will not always be pushing people with the highest room counts or whatever is the craziest and fastest moving room according to their current, specs, which is where they're still going based on the little bit of research that I could find, data that I could find. They weren't really letting too much of the cats out of the bag on how they plan on implementing this. That when I was looking, I couldn't find a whole lot.
So what I'm thinking is, from what I'm hearing on this, is those of us that are consistent, the same show styles, the same speed, the same show flow, the same format over and over again, AI likes to throw you into these buckets. It likes to categorize you. So if you're a seller that's doing live shopping and then you're doing, selling from a studio, you're going to confuse it. If you're hopping from category to category to category, you're going to confuse AI, where now we're talking the consistency of the exact same show, same format becomes even more important than it was before. So what about the sellers that are jewelry and clothing? We know, like, you guys are going to be going into two different categories. How do we think that's going to affect? Because there's a lot of sellers in multiple categories.
Well, I think it'll be the same situation where the clothing shoppers that enjoy someone that sells in the style that you're doing it. I don't know if it's going to be as important. It's going to be more important for you to have your formatting the same.
Yes.
In whatever category you're selling in. So if you're in a clothing show and you do all live sorting, I think that'll be fine as long as you keep that consistent. And if you're doing jewelry over here, however you're doing that, if you like to have a fancy display of jewelry in the background and focus on a single item each time, and there's the buyer, the buyer style, people that like that style of selling, and the buyer style that enjoys that, or personality is what I should be using, that'll match up, and I don't think that'll be a problem. I think that'll be way more dynamic and more fluid then for these people that want to get into other, categories, and it won't be so reliant on your, as reliant on your followers as it is right now, or your buyers right now. I think it'll provide an opportunity for people to get pushed into the feeds. Now, again, what we're talking about is the stuff that they're not doing right now. We're still, speculating. We know the tools are out there for it, and then buying this AI company just tells you that they're hyper focusing on it. And I think if they're smart, they're going to continue going down the avenue of utilizing what we're talking about to the benefit of us as sellers, as opposed to the ultimate scare that everyone's worried about is, well, when do we get replaced by some cartoon or animated figure on the screen selling for us?
So I'm going to backtrack and answer two questions. First, with Tracy, I agree with Jeremy as far as the category thing goes, right? The first thing that they can study and extract data from, which AI needs data, right, is going to be the buyer behavior. What kind of shows are you going into? What kind of shows are you staying into? Do you like fast-paced shows? Well, then it's going to start recommending fast-paced shows in the categories that you like to shop. So I don't think I think jumping categories will probably be okay. If I'm doing a fast-paced jewelry show, then that's where it's going to focus the people, or the people that like fast-paced jewelry shows. I keep saying fast-paced, but plenty of people like slow-paced shows too, right? And chill shows. So it's and then the reason I keep getting down to product-specific things is just because how much emphasis that Whatnot put on the product and at the Seller Summit. And, when they're like, we're creating this template, so it's easier for you to put in all this information, this data, so we can extract and send buyers to you that are going to more potentially buy your products. The problem, I think, is they've built this platform that large sellers, and I'm not discounting small sellers at all, but they built this platform that large sellers are attracted to because of that random element and the fact that they can push so much volume out. So I think the ultimate question for Whatnot is, how do we extract the data of that product upon this random listing? And that's why I keep going back to products. I do agree that they're going to focus on which streams to push the people to first. Did that make sense?
It makes sense to me.
Yeah. I think part of this, that it's a stopgap solution to exactly what you're talking about. If I understood you correctly, is collecting the data to overlay, to almost profile new people coming on, so they'll have data on what type of products and stuff people like, to utilize that information instead of buying it from like the data brokers, because I know that gets pretty expensive, and they have their own internal data, because that probably wouldn't really be of too much use to them, that information out there, to overlay on top of this AI, personality type of profiling that's going to be going on to match the certain types. So when you start coming on Whatnot as a new buyer, they'll ask you like what categories you like, what your interests are, and immediately start being able to be like, all right, these are the people that we're going to want to send you to based on the product data that we got and what you're saying you like as far as product data. And those people that like that are in these people's shows, and we're going to send you over there. And then it'll develop a better, more consistent profile on you based on who you're more what you react more positively to, as far as, again, back to the visual perspectives, the voice inflections, and all the stuff you never thought would ever be a situation you'd be dealing with for selling, on an online platform. Like, that's the kind of stuff that is like almost old school, going, having a store front where you have a salesperson in there that gets good at dealing with people, and then if people find certain environmental situations that they like, and then the company starts changing to adapt for that. This is going to be way beyond that, because they're going to be able to curate right down to each individual person and almost provide them with a buying environment that is super tailored to their liking.
So because to this point, we've been focused on analyzing the buyer, but at the same time, they're analyzing all the sellers too, in order to match them up. We've got to be analyzing both sides to make a good set. So that tells me that as a seller, we need to, like what you talked about, one, get our format down, get our show flows down, but then also change how we interact with the chat, or get the chat to interact more with our products. To, the more time, if I'm selling Fenton, the more time the chat says Fenton, the way I'm thinking about it is I should be asking questions like, how are you decorating? How would you use this to decorate? The more that the chat is talking to, it's also showing what's happening in the room. If they're reading that at the same time, what I'm saying, I'm trying to pinpoint more on the seller side. What clues are they picking up from us? Not just what we're showing, not just how fast we're selling. What other actual, actionable items should we be doing? I have some that I thought of, but I'm kind of curious to hear.
Well,
I could be wrong, but from what I read, Shaped focuses on the viewer's activity.
Yeah, but they have to match it to a seller. If they're matching it, because it did say the first line of the press release is matching the right viewer to the right seller. So yes, they're gathering data on the viewer, but if they're not gathering data on the seller, they're not matching anything. So they have to be doing that. We as sellers have to be doing something in order to do the other half of that equation.
So whatever we're doing to increase, like what I came up with, the velocity, the speed at which you're going, the interaction density, which is the activity in the chat. So like you were saying, Tracy, getting them involved and talking is seemingly what's important to them right now. Because all this other stuff we were talking about, speculation, which will put this stuff in the shadows. But right now, this is what they're talking about. This is what they're focusing on. And it's stuff that they've already been focusing on. They're just trying to make it more efficient and faster. And then the bidding, the how quick people are bidding. And it makes sense. I mean, that's all stuff they're going to want to have happen for their bottom dollar, the bottom line. The faster you're running stuff, the faster people are bidding. And they probably already come to the conclusion that if those two things are fast, the chat's probably fast. So that's all a good environment for them making money. That's my speculation. And they're trying to find out how to get that to happen, or the data to get resolved a lot faster, so they can shove it in front of the people that are really susceptible to those types of environments. But the more I think, I'm just kind of wondering, like, why wouldn't they then, if you're not that type of person? There's got to be people on Whatnot that aren't looking for that environment where it's all like super fast. So I'm assuming that would mean if you're not doing that, they're going to strategically try to push you towards the people that aren't interested in a super chatty chat room, stuff flying
I
off
would
the
think
shelves
so.
that
Yeah, but
I
there
mean,
has
there,
to be some order of ranking too. Like this is, I think, a big unknown to us is the order of ranking. Is the speed going to be higher in what gets pushed to you first, or is the products? So if I'm showing a bowl, instead of saying, "Oh, here's another bowl," I'll say, "Here's a Fire King Jadeite whatever bowl," and that's being picked up on. Even if I'm a slow seller, if somebody likes fast sellers, but they have a history of buying Fire King Jadeite bowls, do I have just as much of a chance? Even though my format might not be what they want, but the product's what they want. That's where I guess I'm questioning is where that ranking comes in on how the AI is going to send them.
I don't think they're there yet, though, right? I mean, right now, what they can measure is, like we've talked about, do they like a show that's speedy or a more calm show? Do they like a guy with a deep voice, or do they like a woman host? And those are things that they can measure. But with the random pull listings, and they're not there yet for the speech to text or to be able to extract the speech out.
But I think that's where they're about to be. I think that they're right on the verge of that.
Yeah.
Within months, like this is what Shape does. I don't think this is years
I
away.
don't think it'll be within months.
I think it's going to be pretty quick.
The data processing on that is insane.
Let me ask a question, going back to what we were just talking about. Bidders. If one of the possible criteria is, am I as a seller putting up items that's getting multiple bids and that's going to drive traffic, what about a smaller room that only gets a single bid occasionally on an item? Do you think that they are not going to push traffic to that because they feel that that seller is moving things not fast enough to suit their bottom line? Or do you think they might go the other way and push buyers to those rooms to attempt to increase bidding?
I think like what Jeremy was talking about earlier. So, I can already name quite a few sellers that do a more slow, calm running show that's not fast paced and it's more chatty. And there's viewers that enjoy that, right? So if that's the type they show that they're more likely to go into, spend time in, then eventually buy in, then that would make sense that they would point that particular buyer to those particular shows.
So that's my thought. It's going to be more fluid and more dynamic sorting. Like you were talking about, Tracy, about watching the sellers and the buyers, and the AI is going to pick up on which buyers are prone to spend more. Like there's buyers out there that don't want to be in the big rooms and are going to spend more in those rooms because they feel too intimidated in those rooms.
100%.
And right now, I think their ranking system's just one size fits all, which it doesn't. They just go with what, kind of like what lots of, just the spamming type of environment. Like, statistically this works best, but now let's take more of a scalpel towards this, discoverability principle. We're going to start carving these people out that are going to match these people and these people out that match these people, as opposed to let's just play the odds, and the odds say the majority of our sales come from these fast ones. So we're going to reward all the fast paced sellers.
They already do that though.
What?
Reward the fast-paced sellers.
Well, I'm saying this is going to change that.
Yeah.
I'm saying right now it's the way it is, and this should hopefully start carving the different styles out in response to how the bidders are reacting in those different environments, in order for Whatnot to, I would believe, then capitalize monetarily that way, as opposed to, again, just shoving the same.
Do you think this evens the playing field then? It's going to help
That's
even
what I'm
it
saying.
out?
I think it's going to help. And that's another problem that Whatnot has. Whatnot has, their discoverability attributes. We go and read, and it basically tells you it's all this,
activity.
Everything they're talking about, speed and this and, having, you read into it. It doesn't say it black and white, but you can very easily read into the what they're saying, and that, you want to be super engaging, want to be very, pretty fast with how you sell things, all that. That's why they keep making the time frames for you to run stuff faster and faster and faster, and trying to figure out how to make that happen so you can do sudden death, and because that's been better for their bottom line statistically. But again, that's more of a, like I said, the spam mentality. Like is what the odds say this brings us more money than the other. But I guess really the other wasn't really an option. They didn't have the tools to be able to match the people up, and that's exactly what they're looking to do here.
One of my notes, Tracy, was actually sellers won't compete with everyone. They'll compete with similar sellers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So let me go back to this and ask this again. I'm not trying to poke the bear. I'm just throwing
away. We don't. None of us really know. We're all speculating.
Yeah. So
We're all just having a little fun show of fantasy.
So here's the question, right? All things being equal between sellers, Jeremy, let's say you and I are selling the exact same thing. You're doing dollar starts. I'm doing not dollar starts. Does Whatnot send a buyer to you or to me if all things are the same based on the starting price? Will they send the buyer to me because I know that if that person is interested in that item, they're going to make money off of an $80 sale? Or do they send the buyer to you hoping that that buyer will help bid it up to be more than $80? Again, all things being exactly the same. Nothing is ever the same, but just those criteria.
In my perspective, it would have to be the only way that they would use a more analytical and fall back to these traditional methods of deciding would be if they're a brand new buyer. If not, they're going to have some weighted data that's going to tell them what they would prefer, right down to, like, let's say they really spend way more money in the environment that you're creating with the higher prices. They don't care about dollar starts. It's not as much of an influence on them. They're going to send them to you. And if they are, based on their historical data, have some type of influence of some account, they'd be able to calculate and weight all that information. In my personal opinion, that's what AI is all about, being able to take ridiculous amounts of data and coming up with a conclusion, and they would send it according to that. Now, if they came in as a vacuum, I think they would fall back on, well, statistically speaking, this is what people want, so we're going to go with that first. And then as they are on here as a buyer or on the platform as a buyer, we'll develop a more cohesive profile.
So a follow-up to that says, does that potentially hurt the dollar start person? Or on the reverse end, if it's the other way around, the higher start person, because they're not going to send those potential buyers to one or the other based on their...
I think ideally it levels the playing field, like we were talking about before.
Let's go back to the buyer, though. Maybe the buyer doesn't prefer dollar start shows.
That's what I
get that.
And maybe they're also, I would imagine they're going to be tracking the average rate, like the average price amount that the buyer is willing to pay.
But what I'm saying is, if all things are the same, if we're selling the same types of products, wouldn't they want to give that person who doesn't necessarily like dollar starts a deal and a chance to spend less? Or are they going to push them straight to the point where they will spend more, possibly more than they should be spending? The average price that they're willing to pay, right? So I imagine they're going to be tracking. I bet they already do track what the average price that a buyer pays for an item. And so, this is just fact. But if Jeremy has a Weiss brooch and Tony has the exact same Weiss brooch, Jeremy's going to get considerably more than what we would in our shows. And if that considerably more price point is out of that buyer's range, seems to me that they would send them to your show.
But now if they start, okay, so to me that's troublesome. If they start segregating buyers, are matching buyers up to sellers based on the amount the buyer is willing to pay, you will now, it's almost like a class system then. You're going to have your low end, middle, and your high class. And it's going to be, let's just think back to history. It's going to be a class system. There has to be more variables than that. That may be, I don't think it's out of the realm. I think it may be a part of an overall evaluation.
I agree.
That's what I was talking about with the weighted attributes. It's going to be a bunch of, they're going to send the person to wherever they think is going to be most financial beneficial to Whatnot. There's no two ways about it. And that could be a person that has no issues or signs of being concerned about whether they win or not. But if that person bids a lot in the sale, they're going to send it to certain sales that person to certain sales they think that's going to be the most beneficial to. They're not going. It's not just going to be technically buying. It's going to be that person's activity. If that person is super active and for some reason the AI picks up on that person being in a certain room of some type, strangely for some reason the values go up, they're going to send that person into the rooms where they think the value is going to go up, whether that person's buying something or not. That's the kind of stuff that eventually they're going to be able to do and take advantage of and utilize. Again, because my perspective, unless my perspective is wrong, that AI is designed for these gargantuan amounts of data to be able to analyze and like I said, scalpel. That's I mean, that I don't know. I don't think that's happening in months. I'm talking like that's something I think is years down the road. I could be wrong. Stuff could end up, happening at a rapid pace. But like Lysandra was saying earlier, the data analysis, like that, what that would take to be able to analyze that kind of information, to utilize it on a ongoing basis on a live stream feed like this, seems like that would be gargantuan.
It's a ridiculous amount, yes.
But that's where they're going.
I know.
And as every day passes, data processing just gets cheaper and cheaper.
All I know is our For You page is about to turn into all smaller shows that are only doing giveaways.
Tony the Givey Goblin.
Well,
I'm going to have to go on a separate account so I get my own For You page.
And even, on the note of the giveaways, they're going to start utilize like all that information. Does the person reciprocate by paying? Do they only stay in the person's room and buy once and then go to another room and then start avoiding giveaways? Do we not send them to rooms with giveaway? Like it's all going to get thrown in there, and that's all going to be weighted.
So what if you are a Givey Goblin, right? And you don't even really purchase on the app. You're just on the app getting in shares with giveaways. I would imagine that's where the algorithm is going to push you to then, right? The giveaway shows.
Yep.
Which makes the giveaways even less valuable as a marketing.
Well, that's not necessarily true. Or they may not, because they're not getting any money really out of the person.
Well, but the algorithm or the AI algorithm is going to work whether you're buying or not. I mean, what else would it do, though?
What else would it do?
If that's your activity.
I'm sure that they're going to be testing to find out if they start pushing these people that are giveaway winners, spend money anywhere, and send them to those shows. Let's say there's a show where they're Givey Goblins, and then there's people that utilize the actual giveaway strategy where they're selling quantities of the same thing, and they use a strategy which, if I was ever to use a giveaway strategy, this would be the one I would use. You run the item you're selling as a giveaway, and then as soon as it sells, you run a flash sale on the remaining content of what you had, because the people that wanted a giveaway wanted it, didn't get it, and as far and to them, they're like, okay, at least I can buy it at a deal now. Yeah. So let's say that strategy works on a certain amount of people. They're going to start shoving those shows to that person. Or if that person happened to buy a couple times over here and then picked up on that and noticed every couple times a week or something they bid on something in these rooms that aren't really doing giveaways, but they spend all their time in the app in place of the giveaways, I would think they would start pruning the giveaways down and start pushing shows that meet other criteria that AI realized, because that's going to put more money to their bottom line. So I don't think it's just going to show you what you want. It's going to show you whatnot's going to make the most money off of.
I wonder what the percentage of buyers have never purchased anything but just are on the app for giveaways. We don't know that. They've never brought that up. But
what's that? Say that again.
I said, I wonder what the percentage of buyers on Whatnot is that only enter giveaways and have never purchased anything. It's an interesting.
That's one of those things where if there's accounts that do that, in the context of what we're talking about, I just don't think that would be taken into consideration. Then they'd just be like, okay, we're not going to waste AI information trying to track that person.
No, but they are. No, but they are, because at some point they want that person to be a buyer. So they're going to try to push them into shows that are interesting to them, as well as the giveaway aspects.
So maybe they end up looking for shows like, okay, so this person has purchased 10 items in the last year. And maybe the algorithm would then look for, well, what show
There's
that's running giveaways also has these types of product.
Yeah, but what if they never bought anything? They literally just are giveaways. Sorry, I'm the devil's advocate here. I'm always going to think of this.
Here's my speculation on that. If they are going to analyze data, it's going to be any other step further towards purchase would be additional activity. So what shows you, are they entering giveaways that they have any type of activity beyond just entering a giveaway? And if there isn't, I don't know what the I think it'd be a minute amount of data to that person finally bought something. They could utilize that to see how long it takes certain personality types of profiles to buy to pull the trigger. But that seemed to me, I feel like that would be data really low on the totem pole concern. But who knows?
Oh, I don't think so. I think a top priority would be to turn a customer into a buyer as quickly as they can, because once they start buying, it's addicting enough that they're going to keep buying, right?
Yeah. But
So-
that's just how many people there you think are like that? But anyway.
Okay, just to throw something else out there. So the next thought that's going through my head, we've talked about what's happening during a show. But when we start thinking about AI and how it categorizes, and then taking that viewpoint, Jeremy, of what you're saying, that Whatnot's probably going to use this AI in the best way to make them money, which makes sense. Now, do we think showing up for your show, having consistent show times, and being there and not being late for your show is going to play into the factors that they're going to be picking up and judging on?
I think it will, because eBay's algorithm feeds off of consistency, and as well as your metrics as a seller. Are you shipping on the promised timeline? Because they don't want to. Someone looking for a Blanco decanter, if your metrics are crappy, the algorithm doesn't want to send you to that seller.
Well, and Whatnot does that now.
You're more likely to
Whatnot
have a
tells
bad.
us,
Yeah. Again, I'm going down the road of being more of a scalpel, because right now that's all statistical data of what the majority of people like. There are people out there that don't care, and that's where they can get super granular with matching buyers with sellers. There's going to be certain buyers that work with tons of people, and then there's ones that are going to be more very specific. Same thing with sellers. So let's say you're someone like me and I'm a passive buyer. I don't care what time my items show up. So if somebody has a 7-day shipping time, I don't care. I'll look at that if I'm concerned about the item itself. If I'm not concerned, like if I'm buying it for a present or something along those, or for a purpose that I need it in a short period of time, I won't buy it for someone that has a 7-day time. But I think this gives an opportunity for people that are in those situations to be somewhat rewarded if they can actually get that granular, that specific with buyer types and seller types.
Well,
To me is what the huge beauty is, because they don't have to use just aggregates and averages and statistics of what the vast majority of people would like. That's still going to play itself out. There's going to be benefits to that. They're still going to show benefit, but it's not going to be an all or nothing type of situation now, in my personal opinion. I think they'll be able to kind of reward the people that have limitations in their own personal life and what's going on, to not be able to hit, like all these marks that they're rewarding us for, tons of sales, $100,000 a month or whatever it takes to get your wings and all that kind of stuff. It'll be more of a fair type of and level playing field, which again is what Whatnot's really going to need, because not everybody right now in this environment that Whatnot has for selling can jump on and just sell. It's not as easy as just putting it on an optics only style platform. They need to start providing opportunity for people that can't fit into that statistical mold.
What I was talking about more of, though, and I don't disagree with anything that you just said. What I'm thinking more about being on time and being consistent for your shows is, why would Whatnot, if you cancel 3 out of 4 shows or you reschedule 3 out of 4 shows, why would they put you higher on anybody's feed? Like, even if you matched with the buyer and when you are on, your style, your products, your price, and all of that stuff matches with the buyer, and somebody else matches and they always show up on time and they always do their shows, I would think that the person who shows up is going to be a lot higher versus an inconsistent, which then that just leads me to the whole point of, you know, everybody on Whatnot says it's okay, just reschedule your shows. Hopefully that'll go away because you know that's my big pain point there.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I
think
think as far as that's concerned, that'll be pretty much stay the same. That's what I was saying earlier before, where there's going to be certain statistical attributes that they're just going to default to, and I think that would be one of them.
I think all things considered, once a seller goes live, it's not necessarily whether they've been live consistently over the last 6 weeks to be able to push somebody to your show based on the characteristics of the AI profile, if you will. They're just going to send you to the show that's live as long as you fit in that parameter. I can't believe that me not, and I'm sorry, just disagreeing with the consistency statement just a little bit, although I agree 100% with the consistency statement. But I feel like if this AI evaluation / profile is just going based on the parameters of the show, if a show's live, that's all it's going to look at. It's not going to look at your history of being consistently live.
I would say it has to look at some of your history.
Yeah, for attracting people that meet the profile of that show, right? You're live, you meet the profile of the show. Yeah, that person hasn't been as consistent as this person, but they're selling the type of items that you want. You're still going to be able to go in there and spend some money and potentially find the things that it is you're looking for. We're going to send you to that show, even though they haven't been consistent.
Yeah, but
over
think
the last
about your For
month.
You page is not just who's live. Your For You page is who's live and who's coming up. So I'm thinking the bigger picture of who, when I'm scrolling my For You page on how they rank them.
This is fun because it's all speculation.
It's all speculation. Yes.
I'm
trying to read
what
this.
we know they're going to be doing here. But here's
It's my favorite thing, Jeremy. I love this.
Yeah. If it's as granular, like I keep saying that, but I'm at a loss for another term, but if it's that specific, it will, in my opinion, if they have a profile on the person and they're like, this person is shown to enjoy people that are more consistent, those are the shows are going to show why they're live.
There was a quick question I want to answer. I think it was Stay Home to Shop.
Chat a little bit.
Yeah, catch up on chat while I try to answer this. I think it was Stay Home to Shop asked if there is a reason why a seller would benefit from choosing to pay 100% promoted listing fee to eBay to sell an item. If I'm understanding your question, I would say no. There's no real financial reason for that. A business expense is a business expense. So I don't see any like financial reason. That would be more of a business decision. Like why are you doing that? What's your benefit? What's the pros? What's the cons to that? But there's no financial gain you're getting from that, if that's what you're asking.
Let me just throw something out here too. Antiques from Karen Janet, and I know I'm sorry, I'm just going to deviate for 1 second.
Let me start with the verified buyers question, and correct me if I'm wrong. I've never toggled it on, but I thought verified buyers was literally just you submitted your ID and you put in a valid credit card information, and that was it.
No, not
that
per
you would
seller.
actually purchase.
No, per seller. So if I turn on verified buyers and somebody comes in my room and they're not verified, they will hold like $10 before they can buy from me. It's per seller. It's not just like for Whatnot as a whole.
Gotcha. But to be a verified buyer, right? It's just submitting your ID and credit card information. It's not that you've actually purchased an item on Whatnot, right?
No, but sometimes they'll place a hold on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Karen Janet, Karen Janet. We were also at the New York meetup. I do not remember anything specific about bookmarks and pushing an algorithm. Your comment was Whatnot told us at the New York meetup that it's all about bookmarks for the algorithm, shows and products. I don't remember. I don't remember that being part of any conversation where bookmarks came into play.
Again, you go and look at that discoverability page. It's something that, if it's even mentioned, it's buried down in there to the point of insignificant consideration.
It says higher up has to do with bookmarks for the show.
And I think she was talking about rankings. And when I was talking about where it shows up on your For You page, I don't see that to be true. If I go to my For You page right now, I can have somebody with 10 bookmarks, 20, 300, 5. Like there's no rhyme or reason to it.
And I apologize if it seemed like we were ignoring you.
Yeah.
Our conversation that the four of us are having together is actually 30 seconds ahead of what you're hearing. And it's sometimes it's hard to stop the conversation from rolling. So we try to periodically get back to the chat and answer questions. So I apologize if it felt like we were ignoring you.
So while she's thinking, while Lissandra's thinking there, I will say this: if bookmarks do have a place somewhere in there, I don't know exactly what that is, and I have never heard that bookmarking a show bumps up an algorithm. That's
what I'm going to tell you right now. People are going to disagree, but bookmarks don't mean squat, and they're nothing worth spending your time on. If they're worth anything, they're not worth spending your time on. If they even are worth anything. And whatever it is, it's so minute, it's not worth it.
And not only that, but the notifications that go out from a show from a bookmark are so far late anyway. That's why everyone has started doing the back call listing itself, because those go out immediate. Go ahead.
I will also say about blocking Givey Goblins. Tony's a self-professed Givey Goblin.
Yes, I am. Don't block me.
He also goes on spending sprees, though, like big ones. So I never would personally block a Givey Goblin ever. And if I was that hard up on it, then I wouldn't do giveaways.
Listen,
in the first place.
I am one of those that you would have to do something extremely bad in my show to get blocked anyway.
In New York? How long ago was this?
So is it the Hodgepodge meetup or a different one? Anyway, I don't block people. So I just go with that. I mean, even the trolls that come in, I think in our year and a half for having trolls, we've only blocked 4 or 5 of them, and we've had our good fair share. But you have to be really, really bad. So I would never just make it a blanket statement that, I'm going to block Givey Goblins or I'm going to block the form fillers or all of this stuff. No, I'm not looking to block anybody. I want the customers to come in, whether they're current customers or potential future customers. Come in. But that's completely different than what we're talking about, but I had to throw it out there.
I'm going to make one mention as far as Marjorie Gems talking about. I think that bookmarks are simply good for morale.
100%.
I think, but here's the thing. You can see 1 million bookmarks and you come in and you have a low room count. Is that good for morale? No, I think it backfires on you more than
I think it's the feel good before the show, 100%.
Yeah, you have to set proper expectations. We all know that, at least for me, if I see bookmarks, I can expect about 30% of whatever's bookmarked to show up.
Yeah.
So that's kind of average.
It's about right.
I just decide not to look at them because then it doesn't affect me. I like to pay attention to what's going on in my show at the time that it's going on in my show and change things up in accordance with, try to get a good feel. But that's me. That's why I completely ignore bookmarks.
I have to say, okay, I don't put a lot of stock in bookmarks neither, but a crowd draws a crowd. And when you see a show that has 100, 200, 300 bookmarks, you're like, subconsciously, what do they know that I don't? What am I missing out on here? Why should I be bookmarking this? Should I go check this show out? So while I don't think they represent everybody who's going to be at the show and they're kind of useless, they do somewhat serve a little bit of a purpose, a little bit of FOMO going on there, create some excitement.
Yeah, which sets up for potential disappointment when you're you go to a show, you saw 400 bookmarks and you go in and there's 40 people in there and you're like,
true.
What's going on? And that's not a step that's not a direction I want to take a step towards. So I just think ignoring them and doing your thing is the best thing, because all it does is plant potential false attributes of confidence that can lead to false, unnecessary attributes of negativity. So
Actually, I'm yes and no. You can still look at the bookmarks and correlate that growth or increase in bookmarks to the increase in room count prospectively, not one for one. But let's say, I mean, and the reason why I say this, literally right before this podcast, Lysandra and I were talking, and she was saying about how her Ship Happens show had started to increase so in the 100+ bookmarks, which is a valid point because that show has started to increase in room count consistently. So while it's not one for one, it is a steady increase on both of those numbers.
I have vastly different bookmark numbers on my show and have consistent numbers of room count.
Absolutely. I know you do.
I'm just saying. Like,
yep,
so that's
I know.
why I don't see a consistent trend is what I'm saying.
Yes.
Of what you're talking about.
You also never asked for bookmarks of future shows, and 90% of everyone else does.
Yeah. But
so, anyway,
here, let's I mean, we took that kind of
bunny
trail there, but at the same
good for
time,
the bunny trails.
But at the same time, let's start talking about some of the aspects that Whatnot did say they're going to be using this for. And again, what's not mentioned or even taken into consideration in the utilization. The AI, they don't even talk about it. It's all about activity that's going on while the show is live, because that's where it's at.
Yes.
So spending your time focusing on what you can get accomplished live and leverage those is where you're best to spend your time and your resources, your thoughts, your plans. Don't worry about getting bookmarks. Take that fractional time and think about what you can do during a live show to draw more people in, because that's the important. That's exactly what they're going to be utilizing this AI company that they bought, and that is where everything's going. That's why they make a point to say in their already existing discoverability, like your For You feed, like as soon as, is it the For You or your homepage feed? No, it's your For You, right? There's For You, and then what's the other one? The followed. The For You feed only has live shows, and
Correct.
That's your landing page. Correct. And that's where 90% probably, actually, I don't know, they didn't spell out statistics, so I shouldn't say anything, but I'm going to speculate that 90+% of activity or shows people go into when they get on the app is right there on the For You feed.
It's funny is I never go off of my For You page ever. Only my followed host.
And I always go for the For You. But I like to test the For You page.
Well, I'll go ramble around and look around the streets, but I always screw that For You page. Followed host. That's the first place I go every time I open the app.
What do you do, Tracy?
I have like my favorite categories, and so I kind of like have an order. Like I always go to community first, then vintage, then maybe I go to For You, and then if there's nothing, then I go to followed host. Like, why should I go to follow host? I know who my friends are. I know who I follow. I don't need them to tell me who I follow. So I go everywhere else. I go everywhere else first, then go to my For You.
We also have to look at what our weighted mentality is in our drive to be on there. Our weighted mentality is not buyer centric. It's seller centric. And, you know, I will rephrase that seller, you know, people that are more looking to buy, that I believe that the good majority of those are just dealing right on the first page of Whatnot, puts right in front of your face.
Jeremy didn't need a reminder to tell him that the A-Team was on Thursday night at 8 p.m. I am with Sherry though on bookmark. So if I tell a seller that I'm going to go look at the shows, or there's someone new and I'm like, oh, I want to go remember, I will bookmark their next 4 or 5 shows, because honestly, between all the work and everything else I got going on, I'll completely forget. And sometimes that notification helps me remember, like, oh yeah, I told them I'd go check out their show.
It would be interesting though, Jeremy, if the bookmarking or the back calls out there do have some sort of weight in the AI algorithm that's coming up. And nothing personal. And those sellers that don't use them has a little bit of a negative connotation because of it. It would be interesting to see that.
My speculation is if it did, it would be AI seeing an influx of people being as a positive attribute and put it towards, again, if they're doing the towards the people that like that kind of activity.
Yes, I agree with you, but
But-
I just think initially it might hurt like the beginnings of the show until you get into the groove of it, right?
See, now that's the other side of it too. Now that what we haven't talked about, and this is one of the things I think I mentioned last week. So part of what I was pulling out of what I was reading is the 20-minute Tony Talks, or the beginning of your show is going to be highly vital to getting it up and rolling. That if you're a slow mover at the beginning, even if you're fast later on, that's that randomness in a show
Is
that
it though?
AI doesn't know what to do with.
They already said at the Austin Seller Summit that the first 15 minutes of your show are the most important for the
Correct.
algorithm.
Yeah.
And I blow that every time, so whatever.
Well, here's the thing, though. We're talking about what I believe is going to be a pretty big shift in when they start getting this AI integrated, all those attributes, because those attributes were based on statistical elements. They thought like, hey, which makes sense. If you get your show started and get it rocking and rolling right out of the gate, it's going to create some momentum, and they believe that momentum creates more value for people. So starting your momentum, really early. But I also, to get back to the back call thing or any of that kind of stuff, they do talk about that interaction density, like viewer traffic and the frequency and how quickly people leave your room is going to be a part of the analysis. Like if you have like people, and that just happened on Friday, where there's this new screen that popped up, and I was just like, what is this? It's telling us kind of like how long people, it's showing you the
Yes.
live,
You can
information,
get
how
rid
long
of
the
that.
people are staying in
We
there.
figured out
Huh?
how to get rid of that. We'll tell
I
you
haven't
later.
even
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't
all-
know,
even seen
but-
it yet.
But here, just think about what I just said. If
They're
this-
looking at how long customers are staying in your show.
They're setting that up for you to pay attention to, so you can decide what you need to do to change that number to the positive, because they're going to be using that as a weighted number. Because we talked about all that hypothetical stuff, but they're still using the same information and the same discoverability attributes. They're just drilling it down to be able to make it really a lot faster and a little bit more curated to the buyer. So they're showing us what we need to see, and basically, I believe, telling us like, start paying attention to these numbers because they're going to be important for your success or your placement and discoverability attributes and whatnot. Because they talk about it, right?
And
That's the one bit that I found.
And forgotten memories, if you are a two-person show and the second person that's not selling is the one looking at all that data live, that's great. But I do agree with Tracy and Jeremy that if you're the seller focused on selling the items, that whole little screen up there is distracting.
And not
I
only is
don't
it
like it.
distracting, it brings my chat to about 3 to 4 lines, and I can't read my chat.
And
The
that's
minute I get
bored because
rid-
it's already hard
Yes.
enough.
It is. So the minute, and I'm on a big screen. I have a huge TV in front of me, and on a huge TV, my chat gets to about 3 lines with that new window. So we figured out in the last show, I think it was, through people in the show were helping, this is how you get rid of it. So then I can now see my chat again. The other side of that is with that new screen, when you're in the midst of selling, there's a million things in your head already. Not once have I looked at it and tried to figure out the data. Like I liked the old screen where I would check out total sales or something like that really quick. There's too much to process in the middle of selling right now.
I don't even like that anymore. I realize that it can affect my mood and my selling.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
And here's the other thing I'll do. If my show's winding down and I'm at a certain threshold number, it's great for Whatnot, but not for me when I'm like, all right, I'm just going to push this stuff that's not doing very well just to hit some generic number that really doesn't matter. And I'm selling stuff that, I'm tired. I'm ready to call it quits anyway. And I'm going to push through to make an extra $500 that I could have made $800 on if I just ended the show and took a break and came back on an hour or two later.
Right.
So,
And I don't know if I have Zach or Kate here from Forgotten Memories, or both of you, but I remember Zach saying very recently that he stopped looking at the sales number during the live show, and it helped his attitude tremendously.
yes.
So what we found is you could,
Oh.
if you click the little thing, it pops the window up really big. And then if you click back like into your show, what happens basically is it hides the window behind what's happening. So then
Okay.
after your
All right.
show, it's still there, and you could take your time at the end when you're done with your show and look at what it says and enjoy it or not and move on at that point. So that's what we've been doing, is putting it in the background so I can look at it at the end, because during the show is too distracting.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I want. Hindsight analysis and then evaluation is the best, because then you're not emotionally tied or involved, and then you can make the changes if you need to, or keep things the same if they were working.
I would rather understand how the AI is working and what do I need to do as a seller to maximize matching up the right buyers to me than trying to look at numbers during my show. So I would rather figure out how do I run my shows the most effective way to maximize the use of that AI and move along in that direction.
I think it's going to be a while before they release anything like that.
What other data's on that? I didn't even look because it was on the screen and we were in the back room selling. That was the first day I noticed it. What's all on that? Does anybody remember? I'm curious because I'm going to try to match the data up to like
I'm trying to think. So it
attributes
has
that they say there.
Yeah, average order value, the amount of the average watch time. It has some other audience information. There's a whole audience tab, but I don't remember exactly what's on the audience tab. There's like 3 tabs on it.
Now I'm gonna have to look, because now I'm curious, because that would tell me that they actually, the information I found was what they're prioritizing at the moment with the new AI buy.
Yep.
So, I mean, if we just go back to the beginning and we talk about what is the AI looking at, we can, it says titles, descriptions, tags, buyer behavior, spoken words, chat activity, and product shown. So it kind of tells us what to focus on. I mean, it kind of tells us where they're going immediately anyways with it.
Is
that what you found that said?
Oops, sorry.
I was just asking Tracy, is that what you found that
That's
they
what
said that?
I found that somewhere. Yeah, I took notes on it. I'd have to go back and get you my exact source, which I can, but I didn't write down.
Because the only things I found was the auction velocity, the interaction density, and the bidding recency was the 3 things that I found that they were seemingly focusing on.
So as a seller, am I able to see individual length of time in the room, or is it just broken down by an average?
I think it's average.
It's average, I think. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because I still think they're utilizing averages anyway for their information. Because it's kind of interesting to me, like that data alone, like how important do you guys feel that is? How long people stay in your room? And I also wonder is, how do they calculate that? If someone comes back in, is that is it the totality of how much time they spend, or is it each time they come in and leave? Is that treated as a new hit?
Yep. And how long do you have to be in a room before it counts? Is it the 2 seconds or whatever as they're just scrolling through, or is it like a minimum 30 seconds?
Have you ever? I've never set a goal. Like I've never thought, oh, I want people to stay at least 5 minutes. I want people to like. Have you ever thought that in that manner?
No.
I haven't.
Which makes me wonder what. I'm wondering what data whatnot has to want to show people that. That's what I'm getting at. Like, what's the importance to that, and how are they calculating it? Which means there must be something measurable that's important to them, that they want us to see it, to have a desire or goal to increase it.
If you go on your, wait, real quick, hold on your analytics page and you click on one of the little, like the information, the little circles with the eyes, because on your analytics page, it does have your average view time. And if you click on the eye, I think it explains how they calculate it. I have to go double check, but I know I've seen it before somewhere.
Yeah. I'm just wondering why they feel the need to show it to everybody now live, because it feels like they have some value to it.
It seems like such a morale downer too for the seller.
But I mean, okay, so even though none of us are here like, yeah, we look at this number all the time. I just saw the question. If a seller has short average view time, would you suggest altering your auction pacing time to run items? So maybe not the auction pacing, like let's just take that out of there. But if we were to consider this, does a short time bother you? Like now, the information exists, Jeremy, like you're saying, for some reason. So now that we know, if it's short, is that bothering me? Should I be doing something, altering times, or should I want them to stay for 2 or 3 items? So maybe I need to run faster to give, so they see a little bit more of what I have, or
then we start getting down this analysis paralysis aspect where we start analyzing all these different elements, and then you feel stuck, and then you're potentially focusing on the wrong thing. Like if I'm not even seeing this stuff, I'm focusing on what I think is important that I am organically seeing results out of. It's no different to me than when they started showing the numbers of what our sales data was, as you know, as the show was going. I thought that was a great idea until I started realizing it affected me and the value and the performance of the show. If things started out bad or started seeming off, I would let 2 or 3 sales affect me, and I'd look at the number, and if it wasn't where I thought I would like it to be or whatever, I'm not on the pace I want, then it just starts, a systematic decline.
But as much as it can affect you that way, I can really relate to a lot of sellers starting out, because I know me when I started out, one of my initial, like at the very beginning, I wasn't making sales. It was awful. And it was, okay, show everything twice. Then I finally got to the goal of, if you can make $50, just make $50 today. And I know that sounds minor to us sitting here today. 50 sounds like nothing. But at one point, seeing a 50 up there would have made me like over the moon happy.
Ecstatic. Okay.
Yeah, ecstatic. That's what I was looking for.
I can see it. I think that comes down to personality. Some people can like get a swell of encouragement to like work harder, and their demeanor changes for the positive if the numbers aren't where they want it to be. And then some people don't. I'm I guess it depends on the day. I probably could go either way. But
what were you going to say?
Well, I don't know now. I had to wait too long.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's my girl.
See, I keep thinking about the numbers up there though too, because I maybe it is personality, Jeremy, because I'll glance when we left it up there before we knew how to hide it. I would glance at the average order value, which is a metric that I pay very close attention to. And when I was seeing it, I would be like, no, you need to sell harder. You need to talk better. You need to do like in my head, I'm like, okay, you're not doing good enough. You need to do better here. And I would use it to, but now I hide it and I like it hidden way better.
I'm the type that certain days that would be the case, but there's days that's not the case. So I just go with I don't want the negative. But I would say that if I look at it and I'm like, wow, those are really good numbers. Like if I'm selling through a certain pile of stuff that I bought and I know where I need to be and I'm like, geez, I hit the number I needed to really quick, then it's just like, don't care. And I can just really, sell, give deals, have, who cares? Good old time. So. Now where are we at? We're going to go back and talk about AI again? Okay,
Lysandra, do you have questions? What do you have for us today?
Somewhere in these notes.
Maybe.
Guys put me on the spot and I gotta sit here and scroll.
You just have to be funny.
So I was actually, while you guys were going, I wasn't listening at all. I was trying to look up what Shaped currently looked for under its business operations, which it's a Facebook Meta business derived kind of, right? The guy helped Meta and Facebook get their certain discoverability AI system up and running. So it's going to be based on that, right? And what Shapes normally looks at, it's primarily built around 3 buckets. The one's buyer interaction data. Examples would include which shows a buyer opens, how long they watch, which shows they leave quickly, bids placed, purchases completed, search terms, follows, bookmarks, giveaways entered, chat activity, categories viewed, sellers revisited, whether the buyer clicked the notification, so bookmarks, and the order in which those actions happened. Shaped specifically supports real-time events, such as views, clicks, and purchases with streaming ingestion intended for immediate personalization. That came off of their website. For video, Shaped has described using signals such as watch history, watch time, completion rate, current session activity, and content popularity to build personalized feeds. And then as far as show and inventory metadata, their website talks about it's actually very SEO right now. Show title, category, seller, scheduled time, current viewer count, item title, brand price, item category, inventory status, product description, images. That's got to change over time, though.
Yeah, but they were doing that for other sites.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
And we
I
actually,
don't think they're going to discount that. I mean, that's like we talked
No.
before. It's going to get drastically trimmed back, but that's not going to go away because they're still going to want to capitalize on anybody that prefers that type of searching and buying style.
and we haven't talked yet about what we were talking about before the show. What is Whatnot going to do with this company? Right? Are they going to allow the company to still take on clients and doing work for other clients? Or, because I think the most important thing about this is they bought an entire business made up of AI engineers built there that are already trained and experienced to build them whatever they want and is profitable for them.
Yeah, it was a service-based company that now just got purchased by
A service-based
So-
company.
Well,
The question
Well, no, I
question
say
with that
service-based
is,
as they helped other companies utilize AI, and now
Yes.
I don't think Whatnot's gonna be like here because that's their competition. Everything that this
Mhm.
company
That's exactly
does
right.
would be helping any competition. Like, what other company would utilize this service that wouldn't be some type of competitor to Whatnot?
so basically any of Shape's competitors just gave themselves a high five because it took them off the market.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And all the
Yeah.
data Whatnot just got from purchasing that company,
Correct.
like where they were working with QVC and mining all that data.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Shape
Because
just
that
became
would
like
be Whatnot's now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Shape just became like in-house counsel for Whatnot. Like they're
It's-
not
Yeah,
taking on
yeah.
clients. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Whatnot. Shaped is pretty much no longer going to be in existence. It's just going to be absorbed. I don't think it's going to keep a name or have any services available. There'd be no reason for it. I don't see why.
I can't see why, unless Whatnot wanted to earn some extra income, but you'd have to be really careful about who you're
And
offering
they're-
services to.
They're not really at a place to start diversifying like that. They're still a baby
No.
growing company. They are nowhere near a
Correct.
diversification phase.
Could there
Yeah.
be a link with, because Google is a big funder of Whatnot at this point. Could there be a link there that Google would be using Shaped as well? Or, I mean, Google's big enough, it probably has its own, but
It absolutely has its own,
then
I
why
don't-
wouldn't Whatnot be using theirs?
because they're not part of the Google business. They're just taking money.
Yeah, I don't think that's. I mean, they don't. I know that they're a huge part of the financing or the raising of the finances,
Yep.
but I don't think they want to. They're that worried about being that hands-on and that controlling. They'll be more than happy, and then probably pick what they need that they already don't have if Whatnot manages to go somewhere that they can't or haven't. Kind of like outsourcing the resources and have leverageable control to get access to it if they want. Like, hey, we gave you a bunch of money, so
Yep.
let me see some of that. that
Share,
data
share,
or-
share
yeah.
alike.
Yeah. So
Stay Home to
Stay
Shop has a
Home.
question. Would you go ahead?
Yeah, I
You-
was just reading it, and we kind of touched on that earlier when he was commenting about the counterfeit items was Shaped in AI, and we kind of touched on it, but just in because I think Stay Home talked about a Nike and the barcodes not matching up, and AI, Shaped AI is what he specifically said, detected those bad barcodes, and the seller was shut down within a day. I do not think AI should be able to auto crash a show and shut it down.
Mm-mm.
Not unless it was something like vulgar, like the guy in a bathrobe selling hot sauce out of his bathroom.
Even then, even then, it should alert a real person, and a real person should come and decide whether or not. We should never allow AI to come in and shut it down.
And
Ever.
this really does. This sounds like it's not controlling shows. It is watching in the background. It's matching up. It's doing all of that background stuff.
But you never know what's to come 10 years down the road, right?
True.
And the problem with AI determining real versus counterfeit, companies change labeling all the time. Companies change SKUs all the time. Company change patterns all the time.
Oh,
You can't necessarily sit there and say that
I'm sorry.
this is counterfeit because it's not what's out there on the market today.
Tony doesn't have access to
I'm
the chat.
sorry. I'm
Here you
not
go.
saying
Here's
that.
his question. Sorry. He doesn't have access
Is
to
there a danger of AI taking too much control and crashing a show? Does that seem like airplanes without a pilot that has no pilot override? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I would never. Would it be my business? I would never allow AI to have that much control. Again, we're talking about my customers here, right? And again, I feel like I have a completely different viewpoint than a lot of other people on customer basis, but I would never allow AI to determine whether or not that seller should continue or not without human oversight. Come in, it's got to alert a human to come in, look and see what's going on, make that determining factor. You can't just especially when it comes to like a counterfeit thing. You can't just take a look at a picture of something for 5 seconds and say it's fake. Shut them down.
You say you can't, but
Can't.
we are very at a fast rate going to a point of, our customer service is all AI. Unless you push back at the AI customer service 10 times to finally get pushed over to email an actual person. It's not just Whatnot doing stuff like that. I could see it happening.
Customer
I really
service is
could.
way different than determining the reality of products or not.
I think there'll be a day that once tested and proven that, again, statistically, that the accuracy is there, that'll be the only time it get implemented. And it'll be a staged effect. It'll be, we're going to start trying it. We'll have human intervention like Tony's talking about. And then the more accurate it gets and the better. It's no different than self-driving cars. You have the person sitting in there, making sure there's a human co-pilot until it starts proving it can be more efficient or just as efficient and effective and just as safe as a human driver, if not safer. Eventually, I don't doubt that stuff like that would come to pass, but it's not anytime soon, I don't think.
Let's put everybody's mind at ease right now. Whatnot can't get our shipping weights correct. We don't have to worry about them shutting our show down right now.
I mean, again, 90% of the show we're talking about is all hypothetical, and who knows?
Yeah.
That's not Whatnot though. That's.
But I will say this.
Yes.
As a business, if I start letting the viability of allowing customers access to my site based on AI, even with 5 years of 100% testing, it only takes 1 hour of killing off shows to ruin the reputation of the business. And how many new sellers are you going to want on that platform if they know AI is determining whether or not you can sell?
Once everyone's comfortable with AI making those decisions, what they will in 10 years, because now I already see people complaining about getting kicked off of they're like, my entire business that I built over 10 years was on Etsy or on eBay, and out of the blue, I get kicked off because I sold a couple of shoes that I thought were real and were fake, or whatever the reason is.
That's not AI though. That's not passing the validation.
But they are comfortable with that level. At one point in time, that wouldn't have been anything anybody was comfortable with.
It's different to be kicked off of eBay because you sent a pair of sneakers to their authentication spot and they kicked you off because you're selling fakes, versus an AI generated removal.
I'm not saying it has to be of a level of comfort to people. They have to be
a long time
okay with it, and as long as the company that's doing it sees it hitting the same statistical numbers that the people did, and the accuracy is close to what the people were providing, it's going to be, of course, you're going to turn it over to AI.
Mm-hmm. The downfall of the civilization.
Or it doesn't even have to be as accurate.
1984.
If the cost to hiring people to be more accurate, it's still more profitable to have the AI do it, even if it's less accurate and not as detrimental to the business, they're still going to do it.
It's just the blowback of the people who get kicked off.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt you. The opportunity cost of new customers, right, Jeremy?
Yeah. But I'm saying if they take that into consideration.
Yeah.
As well. If that was part of, if it starts hitting, if the blowback's heavy enough, then they change. Just like the shipping thing. Yep. They change the shipping, the blowback is huge. And like, we'll do something.
Let's do something else. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready for a question?
Fire away.
Sure.
Are pre-listed shows
no
a temporary solution until AI can understand random auctions?
Why?
So Tracy, this goes back to the question that you talked about. What can I do as a seller?
Yes.
To take advantage of this?
No, because I think you want to teach the AI right from the start that this place is random. Figure it out.
Well,
no,
I'm still not. I still think ultimately the answer on if you should pre-list or not pre-list doesn't come back to the use of AI. It comes back to what makes sense for the show that you're running. I think this is where I finally landed in my head, because I've been all over the board with this, back and forth. Mm-hmm. And I think it comes down to what makes sense for the show you're running. Perfect example, I'm doing randoms now. However, I have a raid train coming up. It's an hour show. I'm going to preload for that because I want to know exactly what the people want to see within that hour, because I'm limited. Versus when I run my show, I'm going to run what I want to run. I'm going to take my time running it. We'll get to it. You can buy it when I get to it, eventually. So I think it comes back to what is your purpose? What's the outcome that you're trying to drive, that behavior? That's what should decide it.
Can you repeat the question?
Are pre-listed shows a temporary solution until AI can understand random auctions? So today, pre-listing gives platforms structured data. If AI can eventually identify atoms through speech and video, does pre-listing become less important, or will it always have advantages? Those are two different questions, actually.
Less important? I would say yes.
They'll become less important.
As far as
the question was, is pre-listing a show more important as AI is learning how to handle Whatnot's random auction style?
I would, Tony, keep the randoms, force Whatnot shape and AI to learn how to get around their biggest problem right now, which is how do I extract data off of these shows with random listings, which are generating the majority of their revenue.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Jeremy, I didn't mean to cut you off in mid-thought, but I wanted to get the right question.
Yeah, it's fine. I think, a lot of this is speculation, but I think you are correct in, if I'm hearing what you're saying correctly, that you think we should stick with the random stuff. So Whatnot's forced to train the AI to make that more effective, because that's where people are spending their money anyway. So in my perspective, not too dissimilar to what I think you're saying, is when we listened to Whatnot, they said 90% of first-time buyers used the pre-listed style stuff to make their first purchase, but then 91%, I think it's 91%, it's over 90%. The numbers were very basically
90 and 91.
Yeah, it was 91 and 91 point something or other. But anyway, but the totality of all sales are from generic listings.
Correct.
So I think they did exactly what I was saying before, that they should focus on how to make the first time purchase just go to where they're going to be in the first place. It's where they're going to land. So why not make that happen? And this is what's going to be able to happen, utilizing these attributes with AI and all the information that'll be available visually, audibly, and environmentally. So
And that first search purchase, that 91% of first purchases, that is your initial AI data to start pushing you into shows relating to that until they figure out more about you, right?
Yeah. And they're going to figure out a lot about you very, very quickly.
Very quickly. That's no joke.
This kind of goes back to something that Tracy said earlier in the show. Does AI reduce the value of expertise or amplify it? If AI can identify brands, estimate values, generate listings, and suggest prices, which we know it already can, just not as quick as we would need in a live show. Where does human knowledge still matter? Will the best sellers become entertainers, educators, curators, negotiators, or something else entirely?
I don't know, like something else entirely, but I think it's going to continue to make knowledge-based selling less and less valuable. I've always said knowledge is only useful in the time frame in which it's applicable, and product knowledge is just a commodity. It's not as much of an asset, and this is going to make it prove even more to that case, the commoditization of product knowledge specifically, if the stuff we're talking about comes to pass, which it's going to. Where, I mean, with, like you were talking about with Google Lens and stuff already being able to do a lot of that for people. So each step of the way we go with technology, the product-based knowledge has already been, like my uncle as an auctioneer, he had a swell of, it's just so much knowledge about so many different things.
Yeah.
eBay comes along, people can search this, like Google Lens, all that kind of stuff starts coming along, and his value, his knowledge just kept doing, just, and it's just pennies in comparison to the dollars it used to be worth.
Correct.
And this is going to make it all that much more so.
Yep.
What do you think, Tracy?
I don't really have I don't know. I don't have
And
much
well,
of an opinion
so here,
on that one.
Well, here, while you're still thinking, Tracy, let me throw this out there as well. If your buyers, and I have tested this because I am a buyer and I research because I'm a seller also, so I'm researching prices. If you are limiting yourself in live auctions to Google Lens, which is typically only showing you the promoted listings on eBay or somewhere else, you're only going to see the higher values of what people are trying to resell items for. And then you could very well potentially overpay based on that search, based on the current selection of data that's in eBay for items for sale. I've done it many times where I'm just trying to figure out what the hell Jeremy's selling. So, you know, you got to Google Lens it fast, but you just get a little subset of the data. You don't get all the data, but you also don't have time to take that listing and go into eBay and do a good proper search on what items are actually selling for. So what looks like a $900 item really only sells for $300, but it just sold for $750 because they're looking at $900.
I think that this question is more pointed towards you as the seller.
Yeah, I was just talking about before. Sorry, with
Gotcha.
AI and the lensing, because using the lens to identify products on the fly quickly.
Here's my argument that I say is this entire selling style is creating an entirely different value base.
It is.
It's like everything. So the matchup to me in utilizing the AI attributes of like the camera thing, we use Google Lens as an example, but that's a comp situation. I'm just talking about information.
Yeah.
If somebody's curious about it, there will be a day where whatever I'm holding up is going to be able to be right away. It's going to be able to come up with information, and there'll be like an actual tap thing where somebody can tap on it and they'll say, this is potentially blah, blah, blah.
I can see that.
Oh, I can see it. I can see it just coming up on the screen.
It could, if hopefully it's something we get to elect to do or not do as far as a seller goes, you know.
Yeah.
But,
yes, please.
But short story long now. I think it comes down to experience. Creating that experience-based situation for the buyers is going to be more and more what creates the value for you, because so much of the knowledge-based principles are going to be right at the fingertips. And why would you spend a bunch of time creating that knowledge base to the extent you had before? You're not going to need to as much. Of course, you're going to want to know what you like that your buyers are potentially going to want to buy. But as far as needing to know the information in depth, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as high.
There's lots of shows though that people enjoy, that the knowledge-based sellers, right? They tell you about the history of the item, and there's a whole story that goes into selling the item to help kind of prop up its value really.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I could see that being replaced. I think people would still enjoy listening to the story and not just clicking on the little button to go read about it. People are lazy.
Well, and not just
the story you weave is different than the knowledge.
100%.
Yeah.
But also, I don't think it's going to go away just for the fact of like what you're saying, Lysandra, the story, but it engages the chat. The chat likes to get into it because half the time I don't know anything about half the stuff. And I'm like, tell me about this, you guys. What is this? And it's that engagement. That's that social aspect. That's not going away. I mean, that's part of what this platform is built on.
I'm not going to lie. I was in a show a couple days ago, never seen these sellers before, and they were doing vintage, and they pulled out this 12-pound copper pot, and I looked at it and said, oh, that sucks to ship. Have fun with that. And then they started telling the story of it, and it gave me chills, and I damn near bought the thing.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I almost bought it because of the story.
Was the story dealing with the specifics of the product, or was the story had to do with like some provenance attributes to it?
The provenance. It was about that it hung up in the kitchen.
That comes down to the experiential principles. And what Tracy's talking about, to me, is completely different than the product knowledge of a person as a seller goes. You're utilizing the attributes you want to create engagement by not knowing. I mean, I live on that. Not 100%. Knowing to be like, hey, you guys know what is it? And people just start, and they decide to start saying things unprompted, which creates activity in the chat, and people go back and forth as long as it's cordial. I don't, I don't interject or start telling people to like behave and stop being knowledge snobs.
Right.
But I think it's going to just be more and more of those type of environments that you're going to want to create to leverage. Again, involvement is huge. And then provenance, like if you buy something cool, I don't need to know how it was manufactured, where it was manufactured. If I have a really cool history behind what path this freaking piece of merchandise took to get to me, that's a huge selling point. And that's the experiential principles that are going to be heavily utilized and can be heavily utilized on here that can't be on other platforms. You can't write a huge story and have the same effect on object-based selling. You can't do that.
No.
And that creates a value, like you just said. That's going to be a pain in the butt to ship. To I want to buy that.
Yep.
That's what you can do on these selling platforms. And the goal of AI is to help you utilize that more to create a completely new value base to merchandise.
And AI is going to take. Go ahead, Tracy.
I was going to say, just to tag on to that, I think it's almost going to be more important for the sellers to know a little something. They don't have to know everything, but if I know that this is Fenton and AI is listening to me, and that's going to bring somebody in my room that's a Fenton buyer or whatever I'm talking about, I don't need to know everything, but if I can say the brand it is or the color, the more descriptive I can be verbally, if AI is listening is going to help match me up, I think it's going to be better in the long run than not knowing anything at all. I mean,
I think it could be more of, if you're a person, so say I tend to swipe in and out of a show in 10 seconds or less, even with people that I love watching. I just don't have the attention span. I'm not even on TikTok. It has fried my brain though. But say for me, I'm in and out of shows constantly. A show here, show there, 30 shows in probably 10 minutes, honestly. But I stop and listen. I get into a show and it's an educational storyteller based. The AI is going to recognize that I actually stop and pay attention to that. So it's probably going to feed me more sellers that have that selling style.
Absolutely, it will.
Once they start utilizing those principles.
Correct.
Yeah.
So
But
this. Oh, go ahead.
I'm going to say one thing, and then you get to your next question. My concern with what you were saying, Tracy, though, is if they just skip right from the the verbiage of what you're saying to the visuals to self-identify the product. Like if you're holding a Fenton piece up and you show the marking, and it just goes, I know that's Fenton. Here it goes, which can be a help. To me, that means creating storied attributes to it, creating the highlight that still feels to me like that's going to catch almost what Lysandra's talking about. If you're talking about where you found it, and it's funny how this, and the person you met along the way, and like all that kind of stuff, I think that's going to be more important than the actual physical knowledge of the item. Or the people that, if you are a knowledge-based person, if you're passionate about glass, you start talking about how, glass making is made and all that kind of stuff might be, a heavy influence attribute. But just the dead pure knowledge, like, oh, this is this product, there were so many of these made, like all that stuff that you can just find in reference books that is just strictly data driven, I think is going to get devalued. That's what I think is going to collapse.
So I know based off my research, we have the capabilities are out there to do all of these things that we've talked about over the last 2 hours. And but the problem has been the cost of that data processing. What would be cheaper for data processing? Going through and listening to all the words that a seller says, or the pictures of the item? So maybe their AI system is set up every time it sees a new item in front of the screen, it automatically knows to take a snapshot of it and go look for, research that item basically to extract the data. It seems to me that would be less data processing than them recording and listening to every single stream and processing all the words that every single seller is saying.
I have no idea. I don't know if visuals is, you'll know based on what they do first, but eventually whichever ones, they're going to end up with both. At one time they're going to have one and then go to the other, because I believe they're both going to have certain value to it either way. They're going to find value. So whatever is the cheapest is the first one they're going to do, and the most expensive they're going to eventually do as well, because there's too much value in that. To be able to start seeing people's behavior based on the things people are saying, the way they say it, and then what they're showing and the way they're showing it. It's just all stuff that'll be leveraged at some point in time in the future when it's the cost is proves viable for them.
I think whether the cost is up or down one way or another, if you're going to use AI to determine your customer structure, you want all the data. You want every single possible data point imaginable. So you're gonna spend the money that it takes to get all the data, no matter what. Speed of light is faster than speed of sound. Yes, it is. So I think they're just gonna invest in getting all of the possible data. It's going to cost more money. They don't care. They just bought the whole company.
I'm wondering even if visual like backgrounds, like branding attributes, are going to become very important for this, because AI picking up on people being willing to stay in your room because of
going to be less
pattern recognition of like, hey, they like these rooms where the people are very consistent with their backgrounds, and your background, you can make it consistent by having like logos or certain attributes that are fixed there. That's the kind of stuff I'm thinking as sellers you're going to want to start messing around with or potentially taking advantage of to create that consistency, which again is funny how I still think that's going to be the biggest attribute here, building the consistency.
Right. I mean, I think it should already be that way, and Tony and I do a horrible job of keeping a consistent, nice background, hence our shipping station.
Yes, there you go.
And our boxes, shipping boxes behind Tony.
But again, if they get to that scalpel type precision, there's going to be personality traits that like, the live shopping or the scan shows, or, me, I have a big mess in front of my thing, but the one thing that's consistent is my like mat that I have in the background, that kind of stuff. So it's all the stuff that boggles my mind, but I think they're going to figure out how to leverage it to their advantage.
Well, that's a good idea, Crystal. AI needs to be able to snap a picture upon finalizing the auction to create an actual listing for receipt purposes.
You know, they already did that about 4 years ago. My first year in, they did that. People had it for a brief period of time and gone. So
Okay.
whenever what was going on, as soon as the item sold, there'd be a picture. They would snap a picture and save it. And I think at the time that was way too expensive for them to keep doing.
Actually,
Did it actually?
with sudden death and people scrolling off of that into the next item, like in a speed show, you'll never get the right item receipt with a picture ever.
Yeah. I think that's probably what started. They started having people complaining probably as well. It didn't last long.
Yeah.
It did not last long. It was a great idea because at the time we didn't have video receipts. I realized this was before I could go back and see what it was. Me and Shane, we were doing generic listings still, like always. I was like, man, that would be so awesome. And then somebody had it, and the person I was selling was like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Of course.
And then I was like, and it was all beta, like, so we never had access to it ourselves.
Did it actually like take the picture and then it go basically Google Lens it and extract the item data? Because
No.
that's what I took from Crystals.
No. I'm sorry. All it did was take the picture and associate it. Like I'm doing a generic lot 1, lot 2.
Yeah.
It would take the picture of the item and just tag it right beside the.
Yeah.
It didn't create a
Gotcha.
title for it.
I can see, because if you go watch competition retrains, you know, like 2-second and 3-second sudden death, you know, a lot of times the person has already moved away from the item they're auctioning off and moving on to the next one before the auction ends. I just.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. I mean,
Yeah. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
And that's what Crystal was saying. That they
Sure,
just wanted a
the item.
picture.
Yeah.
So I think that's what killed it. The super rapid pace sudden death. I mean, they're down to what, 2-second sudden death auctions you can do now?
Yes,
or
sir.
something
We've done a
crazy?
2-second.
I've done a
sudden death
2-second sudden death.
for 10 minutes straight with Tracy as the model.
Yep.
Be More Thrifty says, do you guys think they'll ever even expand on how they're using AI for the algorithm? I think eventually. I mean, they'll update their discoverability section on help.whatnot, but we'll never know 100%. They're never going to give us all the secrets.
They'll give you the snippets that they want you to know about, that they want you to improve on. That's going to help them analyze and gather more data. Just like they're doing today with, you know, the 91% are buying from a search functionality, and then the 91% of all are coming from randoms. But we really want to push the bin listings and the search functionality. So list out your bins and we'll reduce the fees on them and all of this stuff so we can get it promoted. They'll give you the information that they want to promote to meet the agenda that they're messing around with today.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what everybody does unless somebody accidentally slips and says something they shouldn't. But
Exactly. Hey, and real quick, we're down to the 12-minute mark. And what I was going to add on to that is Whatnot, as a seller on Whatnot, it is much better in the information game, because once something happens, you get 10,000 sellers all talking about it, and everybody's trying to figure it out. But then as it changes again, we've all been semi-competent at putting together what happened last time with what's happening this time and what's happening next and next and next. And you can kind of put together a picture. It's not instantaneous, but over time you can put together a picture of what's going on to kind of determine things a little more thoroughly. I do like that, but sometimes it does feel like it's a game of telephone. And it gets changed from 3 levels down. But
and I already think, and what Millicent is talking about, I already think Whatnot doesn't 100% know their own algorithm already. Which is like
one guy
straight answers from them.
There's one guy in a corner somewhere. He's the only one that knows exactly what it is and does.
Well, no, because I mean AI already writes its own code, so
I know.
Who's to say that it hasn't wrote some of that its own algorithm into there? So we didn't really touch on this, and I don't see this being beneficial to Whatnot, but I'm going to ask it and see what your guys' thoughts are, because I thought it was interesting.
Not more than 10 minutes of time.
Okay.
Just saying.
All right.
Don't start us on a new subject.
Could AI eventually become your personal shopping assistant? For example, you go into Whatnot, into the search bar, and say, I have $100. Find me vintage Christmas ornaments tonight. Would buyers trust AI to shop for them? How would that change impulse buying, seller loyalty, and the excitement of live auctions? So almost like a max bid feature, right? But you said it. Here's $100. Go find me what I'm looking for. I don't see that as being beneficial to Whatnot, because half the excitement is the live auctions and the dopamine hitch that you get from making those swipes. But
that's the unique selling proposition in a dynamic shift that's coming in shopping, is the live attribute. What you're talking about would be, to me, something that all the other platforms need to start implementing to stay alive a little bit longer and extract more value out of what they have. The legacy style stuff where personal shopper AI, go find me this for $100. And then come back. And then the other thing is, think about relinquishing control of the auction environment in comparison to a static, where they could come back and be like, was this what you're looking for? And you just acknowledge and say yes. Where if it's auction, you don't have time for that.
Mm-hmm.
But they come back and be like, hey, just let me bid and see if you get what you wanted.
I could see a hybrid of that, though. I could see for, if you're a collector and you say, I'm looking for a 16-inch bittersweet vase, I'm willing to bid up to $300. I could see there be some hybrid of that where you set parameters and specifics and allow it. Noel's over there shaking his head no. Would you like to say something?
Could you imagine the amount of people that already complain about bots and shill bids on the app?
Right.
Could you imagine that afterwards? Ugh.
I think
but we're talking about
you
in
just
the future.
Talked about, Tracy, is
you can see my.
I think the parameter
about
dollar is
you can see my comment on the chat, and someone who uses has been using AI for a while. The amount of errors that you get from generating just an image, it's outstanding. Now, can you imagine if I relinquish my control and say, I have $100, go bid for a whatever? That is open for so many disasters that
now. But we're talking hypotheticals. In the future, do we think that, I think this is totally going to be a possibility someday.
Wait, I didn't take the question as AI going and buying and doing the bidding and buying.
You have the conversation
I must have missed that part.
and be like, I want this, this, and this, and I got this much to spend.
No.
Go find it for me.
No. I think AI will. I think AI will butler itself to you, to a room, and to a person that has it. But I think the search without the dollar amount and just getting you to the right people is the right way.
Again, I don't personally feel like Whatnot would ever pursue that, because I don't see that as being a monetary positive for them.
No, it's going to limit the amount of money they can make.
Yeah, correct. If you're not in the live show, you don't swipe on multiple items.
Yes.
Ooh.
Uh-oh.
What about the social responsibility of AI? And the people that overspend and say that we've heard it in our own shows of people saying that they've overspent in the show or they've overspent in general, but there they are, they're swiping. We've gotten the messages, and yes, there should be personal accountability.
I have strong opinions on this one.
Yeah. Are you alluding to the attributes that AI is going to get so good at profiling that they'll cause people to spend more than they should?
It could, but
AI come back at you and say, "Hey, you've spent too much this month. You probably shouldn't buy that." That was a joke.
No, but it could be either or, right? If AI knows who is most likely to overspend, stay in streams the longest, or respond to urgency, how much personalization is too much? Should platforms optimize only for sales or also consider buyer well-being and marketplace fairness?
Whose job is it to control what you spend? It's not mine. It's not Whatnot's. It's not AI's. I have very strong. My suspicion is the only reason we have spending limits in Whatnot was a remediation effort because of the gambling stuff that they were facing. It was before I get my hand slapped way too hard, let me go ahead and give you a solution, and you'll back off, and you won't slap my hand so hard. That's exactly what that was. I understand. I've heard other sellers explain, hey, we've had spending problems, and like, I understand that, but it's personal responsibility. And if you can't do it, don't go on the app. And I know gambling's an issue and there's all those things, but it still comes down to personal responsibility. It's nobody else's job.
I think the people that overspend on here and have a tendency to overspend in any environment, that's what I meant to say. They have a tendency to spend in other environments, and if it wasn't the app, they'd be spending elsewhere for a good portion of the people. But I agree with the same sentiment that it is ultimately you as an adult and your responsibility to control it. And there is help. Like, I don't want to discount the fact that people get in to these situations, but as soon as you self-acknowledge, like, I have a problem, then you need to go to the problem helpers, the people that can help you, whether that's whatever medical treatment or psychological treatment. Like, if you got to go see, just like a gambler, somebody that has addiction problems, go see an addiction counselor, whatever you need to do once you self-realize it. What you don't do is blame the platform or the people that are selling it to you. In the majority of the cases, are there unscrupulous people that are doing things they shouldn't to convince people to manipulate? That's a different story. But if somebody's just on here selling, then, and you have creating a bad habit, you have to treat it like a bad habit and take the right cautionary measures or precautionary measures to deal with it.
I mean, can you imagine being at the Target checkout and the cashier says, oh, hold on, wait a minute. I'm getting a warning here that you've spent too much at Target this month. Well, let's verify that you actually want to continue with this transaction. I mean, come on, that's kind of like the same thing that's happening.
I come from a casino background before I met Tony and got into reselling. And, the most that the casino industry has is a self-reporting system. You can self-ban yourself, or you can self-ban yourself from a casino. The problem is that doesn't stop the addiction, right? They just go to a different casino. Even though they recognize that there was a problem and they've self-banned themselves from yours, there's still 20 others within driving distance of them. But my favorite comment when I used to be getting flack because I was dealing and taking someone's money, and they're like, well, that was my rent payment. And I'm like, well, there's not Velcro on the seat. Get up and leave.
I mean, I don't want to downplay the any addiction behaviors, all of that stuff. They exist. They're legitimate, but it's not.
They are.
It's not the store or the platform or whatever's responsibility to fix that.
Yeah. All right.
No, Tony's like, you are not asking one more question.
Well, I mean, you can. You got less than 2 minutes.
He's like, my bedtime is around the corner.
No, I'm happy to go late if everyone else is. I'm just making sure we know the time.
Tracy's got a Ray train still to do tonight.
I've got an hour. Nice. I'm good.
Hey, we have 2 minutes. You guys, Pennsylvania meetup that Tracy is putting on in Harrisburg. How many tickets do you have left?
6. I have 6. I think Jeremy has maybe 20, 15, ish. Somewhere in there. Ish.
Yeah. Okay. I have to look. I don't remember, but yeah. Well, you gave me 25 total.
Yes.
Right. So there's less than 20. So there's probably like maybe a total of 24, 25 between you. You know what you have and what I have.
You guys better go on and seeing Tracy.
And we have how long till the event?
To October 3rd. Well, and we would have stopped selling the middle of September anyways, but.
Yeah. So. They'll be gone.
Are you going
Tracy,
to? Oh,
the sessions, probably the sessions at the meetup.
we are going to try to live stream at least 2 of the, like our general session, at least 2 breakouts. That's what our goal is, to live stream some of it. So
Where are you live streaming to? On Whatnot or
to
on?
what? And Noel's like, we're figuring it out. He's giving me hand signals.
Oh, okay. All
We're
right.
figuring
We
it
got
out.
2 months. We got 2 months.
At the very least, it should be on YouTube. At the very least.
Yeah.
You stream to Whatnot if you want, but you should be able to replay it over and over on YouTube.
Yeah.
Guys,
That's my thought.
D just got here. You need to restart the whole conversation.
All right, back at the
Hey,
beginning.
D,
The beautiful thing about YouTube,
is you can rewatch it.
Welcome to the
Hey,
Reselling
You're
Roundtable.
welcome. Yeah, welcome to the Reselling Roundtable.
Why were D would have been great to have it here for the beginning.
I
Isn't
know.
D like the tech savant of Whatnot.
So D, go back and rewatch the 2 hours, and come back with all your complaints
Opinions and
about what we just said.
Yeah. So you're gonna be like, no. You don't know what you're talking about.
All right. Well, it's 8:30. If no one else has anything, if there's no other questions in the chat, we can call this one.
Yeah.
I do.
bye guys.
See you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, D.
Thanks for joining, everybody.
Catch you all later.
See you next time.
Goodbye, everybody.